Hello and welcome to Council Catch-Up. I'm Derek Westby, your host here on WSTO TV. Just a reminder, WSTO TV is on TDS Channel 12 in HD, Spectrum Channel 981, and we've also got a Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV app, and Android and iOS apps, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Also a reminder, the Around the Clock newsletter for the city has just gone out online. Check that out for all of the department updates that covers the next couple of months. So we are here to talk about the March 28th, 2023 City Council meeting, and I'm here with Mayor Tim Swadley. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we had the call to order and all of the normal beginning stuff. Did anything interesting happen during the public comment period? Were there anybody speaking?
We had two people speak for the public comment. One was requesting that we take a look at our ordinances as they relate to having gasoline pumps near daycares and neighborhoods. And then the other person spoke supporting the hospital expansion project.
All right. And then the first item under old business was the speed limit change on Rutland Dunn Town Line Road.
Yeah, so this was the second reading. You might recall at our last council catch-up, we talked about the stretch from Highway 51 on Rutland Dunn Town Line Road that leads into the new development, and this was just the actual vote on approving the speed limit reduction.
And did that pass?
It did.
All right. And then on to new business, we have a Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Urban Non-Point Source and Stormwater Grant.
Yeah, so one of the things that we do in all of our departments is we're constantly looking for resources to help offset the costs and limit property tax increases. So our Public Works worked with our planning department, and they wrote a grant for stormwater work that we'll be doing, and we were awarded the grant from the DNR.
That's wonderful. And then we had a first reading of Ordinance 5 from 2023, Plan Development, General Development Plan for Stoughton Hospital on Ridge Street.
Yeah, so we received an update from a plan that has been evolving for the expansion of Stoughton Health. They've been collaborating with the neighbors to try to address the concerns. Most of the concerns, as usual, relate to additional traffic, parking lots, lighting, some of the landscaping type issues. And I understand that they do have another meeting planned with some of the neighbors. And they're going to address as many issues as they can to minimize the impact to the neighborhood.
All right. And then the next item was Ordinance 6. And that was related to erosion control and stormwater management.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is align our ordinances to be more consistent with Dane County ordinances. And we get information from them and the DNR, and we just want to make sure that our language is consistent so everybody understands what we can do and what we can't do. If we have conflicting ordinances and there's a situation and a question arises, that creates a problem for us.
All right. Item number 11 was Ordinance 7 about pond aesthetics in the Stoughton Municipal Code.
Yeah, so we brought this back for a first reading again, and we've been tweaking the language, and this would be in residential neighborhoods. And what we're trying to do is come up with some language to make the stormwater ponds look more natural. And we've been tweaking the language, and at the most recent Public Works meeting, we received some input from some of the engineers that design these ponds. And we just want to make sure that everybody understands what the expectations would be as far as the curvature and the shape of the ponds.
All right. Resolution 47 was to adopt a budget for the Eggleston Woods Park Shelter.
So we were approached by the Lions Club, and they were interested in basically getting naming rights for the shelter. And under our policy, if they pay for half of the cost to do so, they can basically put their logo or their plaque on the shelter. So they were able to raise $15,000, which is half of the cost to construct the shelter in the new park.
All right. Item 13 was Resolution 48 to amend the 2022 adopted budget for the deficits and expenditures exceeding budgetary authority. So first of all, what does that mean?
Well, it's a fancy way for an accountant to say at year end, what we want to do is make sure all of our budgets are balanced according to the state laws, the state statutes. So some of the departments will run over budget, some will run under budget. And what we do is at the end of the year, we try to zero everything out so the city council and the state of Wisconsin can see exactly what was spent versus what was budgeted. And as the accounting goes, to make sure that everything is balanced at the end of the year. And I'm pleased to say that at the end of the day, we were about $800 in the black. Usually we don't really cut it that close, but that really means what we did is we did a nice job of budgeting and then making sure that all the money that was levied for was spent last year.
All right. Resolution 49 of 2023, writing off the 2021-2022 delinquent personal property tax bills.
So this is something that comes up every year. Personal property tax is usually on a commercial business for some of the machinery or some of the equipment that they use as part of their operation. And under the state law, we can currently collect personal property tax money for that. That state law has been reviewed in the state budget 2 years ago. It's under review again this year where they may eliminate that. And we've been told if they do, they'll still make the municipalities whole so we don't have a gap in our budget. And there's businesses that relocate or they go out of business, and the money that we tax them for is we're not able to collect it, so we basically just write it off. And this year the amount was lower than it normally is. So I think our finance department is doing a really good job of staying on top of it and really trying to collect that. In years past, sometimes there would be multiple years, and the odds of collecting money over multiple years is more challenging than it is if you do it on an annual basis. So that's one thing that we've tried to improve.
All right. And then Resolution 50 was a street pulverization project contract.
Yeah, so it's that time of the year in Wisconsin. We kind of have a couple different seasons, and the second season is construction season. So we're getting bids in for our projects. And the pulverization is basically when they grind up and replace the asphalt on the roads. And really one of the biggest ones will be the Jackson Street area. And the bids came in favorable, so there was a resolution to accept the bids from the contractor.
All right. And then Resolution 51 was for North Street and Bickley Court reconstruction.
Yeah, so usually a reconstruction is really when you go right down to the base of the underneath the road. So in a reconstruction, we typically do utility work as well as the roads and curbs, gutters, and most of the time sidewalks. And this one here, the North Street part is kind of contingent upon Stoughton Utilities. The bids on this particular project came in kind of high, and we're not really sure if Stoughton Utilities are going to be able to absorb the extra costs in their budget. So we decided to postpone the vote on this one until we can get another decision from Stoughton Utilities. It is possible, too, that we could rebid it, or we could just wait till next year. It's a small, basically a one-block section over by River Bluff, but it comes with a big price tag because it's anytime you do underground work right now, it gets to be really expensive.
All right. And then 52, Resolution 52 was the Jackson Street reconstruction project.
Yeah, so this is, part of the section on Jackson Street where we're going to put in force main. That was always part of the plan when we did Kettle Park West to make sure that, the water has a place to go, as it filters through the ponds and ultimately ends up in the river. And really the force main is an expensive portion of it, but that's being paid off through tax incremental financing. So then the rest of the project involves the repavement at the end of Jackson Street where it meets 51.
All right. Resolution 53 was to adopt a tax incremental financing application.
Yeah, so this one here, we're adding language into our tax incremental financing application and policy to make sure that we can encourage developers to consider doing sustainable measures into their developments, whether it's solar panel or geothermal or anything else that would be appropriate for the developments. This one here was also postponed. We're still tweaking a little bit of the language on the actual policy. The application is ready to go, but the policy itself, we just need to do a few more things. It'll come back.
All right. Item 19 was Resolution 54 of 2023 to amend the 2023 adopted budget for the Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Task Force Strategic Plan.
Yeah, so we had a DEI task force, and they made a recommendation to basically dissolve and hire a consultant to further facilitate the process through some sort of a subcommittee of our Community Affairs Council Policy Committee. And this approval here was to allocate the funds up to the $18,000 to pay for the consultant to do their work. And we would plan on starting this work sometime this year yet, based on the consultant's availability. And then we would eventually be looking for some community members to serve on the subcommittee.
All right. And then Ordinance 8 of 2023 is relating to a operations superintendent of utilities.
Yeah, so this one here is a first reading, and basically in our code, we had some language in there that I believe that position had to be appointed. It's some antiquated language, so we're just trying to get our ordinance updated for that position as we look to fill positions down at Stoughton Utilities. We've had some retirements there lately.
Okay. And the last item was Ordinance 9 of 2023 relating to the bulk on-call program for John's Disposal.
Yeah, so this one is also a first reading. We do have a monthly bulk pickup service available through John's. And so what that means is you can put out things on the curb that wouldn't normally fit in your recycle or your garbage container. And quite honestly, we've had a few situations where that's been abused. It usually happens at the end of the month. And so what we did is we put together a point system that basically says you can do maybe a couch, a battery, and a tire, or some different combinations to encourage people, to encourage people to put things out periodically and not all at once, especially if it happens to be on moving day. And that'll make it more efficient for Johns to do their pickup and stay on schedule for the rest of the residents in the community. Johns always errs in favor of picking up the items versus just driving away and leaving them there. But we've had several examples here where it's been a little bit out of control. So they'll be doing some educating. When people call in for the service, they'll let them know on the phone basically what the guidelines are. And then hopefully people will respect that and abide by them, and we won't have any further issues.
All right. And that's all we had for the March 28th, 2023 council meeting. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, and have a great day.